Well, welcome back to the Merck Method, where we explore mental wellness, growth, and the human experience. I just want to thank everybody for coming on to the podcast episode today. If this is your first episode, welcome. If not, I appreciate you coming back and listening to more. So today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about you being enough. I feel like I'm seeing this more a little bit lately where people are talking about how they don't feel like they are enough for what environment they're in, whether it be at work, whether it be in relationships, or just overall. So I wanted to dive a little bit more into this episode today. And I really want you to hear these words, just not with your head, but I really want you to feel them in your heart. Because realistically, you are enough. And we're going to talk about it. Because in a world that really consistently tells you to be more, right? Do more, have more, look a certain way, the truth is often lost in all of that. And that truth is being you are already enough right now in this present moment, exactly who you are. I mean, let's be honest. Most of us grew up thinking we needed to earn our value. I did. I felt that the more I had, the more friends I had, the better off I'd be popular. Maybe it was grades, your approval from parents. Nowadays, it's social media, promotions at work. Somewhere along the way, though, we linked our worth to those performances. We thought if we do more, people will love us. If we achieve more, we'll finally feel enough. So I have to admit, I was one of those people. I felt that if I continued to raise the bar on certain things, that people would pay more attention or finally acknowledge who I am. If they're not going to pay attention to you, they're more than likely not going to pay attention to you however you're leveling up. They're probably going to get more agitated by you actually doing something that you enjoy or having all these acknowledgments and so on and so forth. But the thing to keep in mind here is that that's a moving target. You can't spend like your entire life chasing quote unquote enough and never reach it if you believe that it's out there somewhere in the future. The truth is, realistically, your worth has never been up for debate. This isn't a contest to be won. It's not something you can lose. All right, I have an example. You have a newborn baby, right? They can't technically talk, they don't work, they can't do anything productive yet. But we look at them and think that they are perfect. They're loved and they're enough. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that that's also true of us. The problem that it is right now is that we're all making these invisible checklists in our head. Now, if you've felt or have ever felt that you are not enough, you are definitely not alone in this. I've been there dozens and dozens of times. Well, you have these invisible checklists, right? Oh, I'll be enough if I lose 20 pounds. I'll be enough when I get that job. Maybe I'll be enough when I'm in that relationship that I've wanted. The problem with all these checklists that you keep moving, once you check that box, another box actually appears. And it's like a crazy cycle that we just keep continuing to feed. A lot of this stuff comes from comparison, right? We're always comparing ourselves to other people. That's our first huge mistake. Of course, social media is a huge thing behind that. Social media is not all bad, but it's not real life either. I hear all the time, you don't see anybody posting their negatives as much as they post their positives. You see people's best moments and compare them to your behind the scenes, right? It's not a shock that we're trying to compare ourselves to people's only highlight reel. Another issue we actually do have is we're internalizing other people's voices. This could come from a parent, both your parents, maybe a teacher, maybe one of your mean exes made you feel like you weren't good enough. Those words are planting those seeds, and if we're not careful, we're watering them with self-doubt. We're feeding the wrong beast. Okay, here's what I want you to know right now. Acceptance is not same as complacency. You can accept yourself as you are and still want to grow and improve. The difference is growth that comes from your self-love is sustainable, right? Growth that comes from self-loathing burns you out. I love this quote that I heard the other day. You can't hate yourself into a version you love. Did you hear that? Because I'm going to say it again. You can't hate yourself into a version you love. When you start with acceptance, you keep telling yourself, I am enough. I am enough right now. Your efforts to grow come from a place of abundance, not desperation. Okay? Let's do something right now. Let's take a deep breath. Okay? You don't have to earn it. You're alive right now, and that's enough. Here's some daily practices that I want you to start to shift your mindset. I always tell everybody to start the day off with maybe 2 to 3 things of positivity that happened the day before. Okay, that's one thing. Try some affirmations, some positive ones, and not just saying I am enough, but really feeling it in your chest. Hold your heart when you say it. Put your shoulders back and repeat it until it starts to stick. One of the biggest things is we got to stop doing the comparison game. Stop comparing yourself to others. Maybe when you catch yourself doing that comparison, maybe say to yourself, that's their journey and you have your own. Because your story is unique. Your unique story cannot be measured by somebody else's ruler. A big thing that I'm on is celebrating your small wins. Did you make your bed this morning? Were you kind to yourself? Those are small wins. That's progress. Baby steps still count. Again, if you're going to fall forward, that's still progress. One of the biggest things that my wife and I talk about all the time is surrounding yourself with uplifting people. People that value what you are doing. And you the same with them. Surround yourself with good people and you will see things change. I promise you that. And like every episode that I usually have done, write some stuff down. Write some positive things that have come up that have shown that you are capable and loved and valued. Because maybe you'll have a time where you don't feel that way, and then you can go back and read them and go, you know what, this happened, it can happen again. So I struggled a very long time with feeling that I was not good enough for multiple things. And I think part of the reason was that I was trying to put myself into environments that I shouldn't have been into necessarily because I was looking at having more friends would make me more popular, which would make me feel good about myself. And reality check is that's not actually true. And I would try to put myself into situations where I would be acknowledged. And unfortunately, that was not happening. So now it really just carries over to my adulthood where being acknowledged for me is a little bit more of a boost because it feels like I am being seen or heard. But at the same time, it's not the driving force anymore because I know that the things that I am doing are helping others, and I don't expect them to acknowledge every single time that I do something because really the reward is knowing that I'm doing the right thing and just helping them out. And that's really what the Merck method is all about. Being kind to other people, even though you know that they are not going to be kind to you. And if you get acknowledged in between there, that's awesome. But you don't really need that to continue to thrive because you have to understand that most of the time that's not going to happen anyway. And that is kind of a gut check because who doesn't like to be noticed and acknowledged for many things? However, unfortunately, like I said, it's not coming. But that's okay because deep down, again, you know that you are being the best you that you can be. And that's really enough. As long as you're putting your whole heart into it, that's all that matters. People will see it. Maybe they're not going to throw a party when you do it, but people will see the difference that you're making. Not in everybody, because you have to remember too that those individuals can't see what's in front of their faces and even what's going on with themselves. So it's going to be hard to acknowledge you. Just remember, you don't have to be richer or thinner or smarter or more successful to be enough. You already are all of those things. Before we actually go any farther with this podcast, I want you to do one thing for me. I want you to think of one thing that you love about yourself. Big or small, doesn't matter. Maybe it's your kindness. Maybe it's your laugh. I love my wife's laugh. Maybe it's the way you always notice the little things about other people. Hold on to that for the rest of this episode. Okay? That's what I want you to do. Now, remember too, when I was talking about you don't have to be fitter, smarter, or more skilled than everybody else, that doesn't mean you don't have goals still. But your value doesn't depend on achieving those things. Because remember, like I told you, you can't hate yourself into a version you love. I think the biggest thing that scares everybody about the word enough, it seems like a trap, right? It seems like just one step away. So you have a goal, you hit the goal, then the bar moves. You check the box, another box really appears. It's like running a race with no finish line. That sounds exhausting to me. Pause for a second and ask yourself, when did I first believe I wasn't good enough? When was the first time you really felt that way? Was it in school when you were younger? Was it at work? Was it in a relationship you had? Usually that belief doesn't come really from us. It's something we absorb from someone else. Somebody planted that seed in you and told you weren't good enough. And that, again, is total BS. Your worth doesn't come from that person, that job, your body, your bank account, or the number of people who approve of you. It's built in, it's unshakable. Somewhere along the line, we stop believing in ourselves. But really, nothing about our core has changed. We've just layered on years of comparison and criticism and impossible standards we set until we forgot what was always there in the first place. Just like that newborn baby. You have to remember when that doubt, which is going to come again, creeps in, you have to remember your worth is not up for negotiation. It's not something that can be taken from you. I want you to walk through the day as if you know you're enough, because you are. No one needs to tell you this but you. What do you believe makes you enough? Think about it. What's your answer? Is it being a good parent? Is it the way your house looks? Is it the items that you checked off your to-do list? Maybe it's how many social media followers you have, the type of car you drive. I mean, you can make this list go on and on and on. But the truth is, if you've answered that question in any other way than I'm enough simply because I'm me, then I'm sure you're not alone. Here's a fun fact I'll throw in. Studies suggest 85% of people experience a sense of not being enough at some point in their lives. 85%. We are all born with all the love inside of us we need to love ourselves completely. But for so many of us, somewhere along the way, this self-love gets displaced. Somebody planted that seed of negativity. Then we think, I'll be good enough if. We begin to place that self-worth on chasing those externals instead of embracing our internal. For me, again, that feeling of not believing I'm enough, that's a rocky place to be in. It took my peace. It felt like if I looked a certain way, made more money, earned more quote unquote gold stars, I'd feel good about myself. And that's not true. It just raised the bar higher. It took a lot of work for me to climb out of that belief. It didn't change overnight. I just realized the world needed me just as I am, and it needs you just as you are. It's true. You don't need to change for anybody else. I mean, you've changed so far, and it probably hasn't worked out very well. So, what's the difference in just being you and seeing what happens? So, how are you going to return to believing that you, at your core, are enough? How can you learn to accept yourself and give yourself permission to be human? Takes a whole person blueprint for this, an action plan that actually incorporates all of you. Beliefs come from your thoughts and emotions. Remember, your brain is your command center of those beliefs. If it's not working, nothing will be. We are the person that we talk to the most, no questions asked. Another fact, it's estimated that we have 70,000 or more self-talk thoughts a day, and that 80% of them are negative. 80% of your thoughts are negative. That is very tiring. Most of those negative thoughts have become so routine that they go unnoticed and unquestioned. You're just living in that negative thought. You have now worked your brain like a muscle to see the negative. You're talking to yourself and thinking things in a negative manner. I don't know how you expect to see anything positive if you don't work at it. Also, studies have shown that we often become more like the people we spend time with. If your goal is to believe you are enough, then you should be spending time with people who actually believe that. Start spending some time listening to yourself in a positive light and not the world around you that wants you to be something else. Think about how amazing you are. It's in a matter-of-fact kind of way. And I mean the fact that there has never been anyone just like you, and there never will be. I mean, think about that for a second. There's no one like you. You have a unique set of God-given gifts and qualities to offer the world that no one else does. Again, the world needs you. There are only one of you. Frankly, I'm excited to see the version of you that should be the one that we all see, the real version of you, the version of you that is enough. So as I begin to close out the podcast episode today, I just want you to remember believing you are enough is a journey. It's going to take some time, but that path isn't usually a straight one. I wish it was, but it's not. Once you get to that point of really believing in you, then you have to make sure that you stay in that state. No matter what the world says, no matter how loud the doubts get, remember this. You are already good enough. Your worth isn't tied to your achievements, the clothes you wear, or anyone else's opinion. It's been in you from the very beginning. You don't have to earn it, you don't have to prove it, and you don't have to fight for it. You just have to believe in it and believe in yourself. Make sure you walk forward with your head held high, knowing you are worthy, knowing you are valued, and you are more than enough exactly as you are. Okay, so as I leave you, like always, I leave you with this. Stay grounded, stay kind to yourself, and remember, strength begins with honesty. Until next time.